Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I've been sharing you guys stories about, these big homies, all right? These dudes that are made men. They've climbed up the ladder of their respective organization. And for the most part, these dudes are beasts. They're formidable men. They've earned their position and they've been through the ringers. I always say, even if you don't agree with the things that they do or what they sign up for and all that stuff, but according to that lifestyle, these dudes that get made, you really can't take nothing from them because like they've earned it and they've earned it through blood. But not everybody that try to play big homie has earned it or are built like that to be a big homie. And the story I want to share with you today is just that. These dudes that want to be big homies, but at least from where I see it, they haven't earned it. And the Pacific group I'm talking about right now, they're called PF, Pacific Family, right? This stuff happened, they started out in Lompoc. It's really, their idea was to create something like the Black Hand or the NF or the BGF, where these would be the spokesman for the Asian Islander card. So when I got to Lompoc, I didn't know anything about them. But every time I come out of my unit, I wear glasses. But in the penitentiary, the glasses they give you are big ass Coke bottle, right? Some of them we clown. They call the glasses birth control, because you're not pulling no girl, you're not getting laid, walking around with them glasses on, right? So how I came to know them was every time I came out of the unit, they had this CO. His name was Davis. Thought he was tough until that riot with the Sereno and the CO. After that riot, he got exposed. He was like he got exposed, and everybody recognized him for what he was, a little bitch, because he didn't go into the unit like some of the other COs. His bitch ass took off and ran, right? So going back to the story, I'm new, right? I just got to Lompoc my first few months. So every time I come out of the unit, he'd always pop something slick. He's a CO. He'd always say something slick. One thing about him, this dude, the CO Davis, he knows everybody. He goes in and looks up everybody's cases and stuff, and so he knows what everybody's in there for, right? Every CO has access to your file. They can get on the computer and it'll show, oh, he's in here for, selling drugs. He's in here for bank robbery. So he looks up my case and see that I have assault on staff. And for him, he thinks he's tough. So when he sees me, some little skinny Asian dude with some glasses, he just can't accept that I knocked out one of their COs, right? Not the ones in the feds, but I did that out here in the county. But the same difference. I knocked out one of their staff members. So every time I come out of the unit, when I was living in M Block, he'd always say something slick, right? So after, me, I already understand that all these COs that I run into, they're always going to try to put me in a trick bag, try to get me to react in some type of way so they can, beat me up, whatever, lock me in the shoe, and do what they do. I understand that. You know, from the time I got off the plane going to Oklahoma, it was the same vibe. You know, they're coming up to me. Oh, you think you're tough, huh? You think you're tough, huh? Was he looking when you hit him? You know, all the rest of that bullshit, right? Because no matter what led up to the incident, they don't care. They're always going to have the back of their fellow correctional officers, you know. So, like I said, a few times I come out of the unit, when he's working, he pops something slick. So, on this occasion, when I come out, he says something goofy, right? Borderline disrespectful. So, I waited till the hallway cleared and I doubled back and I went up to him like a man. I said, "Hey, what's up, man? Do I know you from somewhere?" He's like, "What? What are you talking about?" I said, "I just want to ask you, have I done anything to disrespect you?" He's like, "No." I said, "So why the fuck you keep fucking with me for?" "Oh, what? You're tough? You're a tough guy? What are you gonna do? You gonna get the PFs on me?" So that's the first time I heard that word, right? And I don't have no idea who the fuck these PFs are. I was like, "Man, I don't even know who the fuck you're talking about." Matter of fact, you know what I mean? Let's just get an understanding. If there's an issue, we can deal with it. If not, leave me the fuck alone, because I don't disrespect you. You know, he just looks at me, whatever. Nothing transpired with that, but and I rode out. And but after that, you know, he never bothered me anymore. You know, so going back to this PF, this Pacific family, I come to find out that a dude named Camacho, who was Guamanian, started the organization. And he started, the idea was for them to be the big homies for all the Asian Islanders. So once I knew the name, you know, I kept my ears open. And I found out there were like 5 of them that was in Lompoc with us. And through my interaction, just watching these dudes, because, you know, if they say they're the big homies, you think you're gonna meet some thorough dudes, some dude that's about their business, right? Well, the members they had that was part of the PF in Lompoc, like, for lack of a better word, they couldn't even tie my shoelaces. So I never looked at them like they were anybody or any big homie or anything like that, you know? Because there was a few occasions where things popped off that we had some issues, like we had some issues with the Crips, where where they tried to throw the homie Jimmy, BTK dude, Vietnamese dude. They had a dude named Bruno. I think I've shared this story in my prior videos, but this dude named Bruno was a Crip. And Jimmy, he's shorter than me. He's probably like 5'4", but that dude is yoked up, right? Every time you see him during lunch, he's out there working out. You know, dude's a beast. And I think Bruno was trying to press him because, you know, he's over here pushing dope or whatever. And Bruno went over there and tried to press him. But, you know, Jimmy's a gangster. He's from BTK, from Born to Kill. It's a Vietnamese crew out of New York. All of them that got indicted during that time, they all had life sentences. You know, and he was about the only one. I've only ran to him and a dude named Tran in Beaumont. And Tran's supposed to be Jimmy's big homie, but Tran's a lame. You know, I think I've shared a story, you know, concerning that. But Jimmy, I'm not gonna sit here and take nothing away from him. So on the day that so the night before, Prino pushed up on Jimmy and was trying to extort him. Well, the next morning, you know, your doors rack at 6 o'clock. This is why I tell you, when the doors rack, when the doors pop, you got to have your boots on, you got to have your knife on you, and you got to be up and ready because you never know what's going to happen throughout the course of that time. You could be, if your ass is sleeping in bed, your homies could be going out to breakfast and something pop off in the kitchen, but your ass snoozing away, don't know nothing. Well, them dudes that your homie got into it with could have slipped back into your unit and they already know you in bed. So they can go up there and hit you in your bed. Like when you're in a penitentiary, especially if you're a gang member, and even if you're not, everybody knows everybody's routine. It's it's imperative to your survival. It's crucial to your survival that you know who belongs with who and what they do every single day. I can sit in my room when the doors rack and when everybody's come out of their cell, I can tell you exactly where everybody's at. Because one thing, we're a creature of habit. I know who's on the phone. I know who's making coffee. I know who's doing what, whatever. I don't even have to see them. But just being in the unit, being, being aware of my surroundings, you see people, they pick up a habit, because there's people that have work details and they prep themselves to get to work. There's other people that are running a store. They start setting up their shop. There's people that make wine, all the rest of it. And you pretty much have a good idea where to find people you're looking for at any given time, right? You got people that run right to the TV room and catch up on the latest sports scores because they play tickets, all of that. So I don't want to stay too long on this on Jimmy's story, but long story short, that morning when the doors racked, he goes in there and stabs that dude Bruno up. And the Crips seen it. They come down. I think they might be on the second or third floor, and they were trying to throw Jimmy off the tier, right? But they didn't succeed. Whatever. Like, and in Lompoc, they don't lock you down. They don't lock you down, right? So they come and lock all the people that was involved in that incident or whatever. Then the next day, the homie Muhammad, he's half black, half Hawaiian. He's coming out of the shower, and three Crip dudes try to jump him. And Muhammad's piecing him up. Bing, 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 bing. You know what I mean? So they come in, they lock him up or whatever. So now that's two incidents involving us and the Crips. So we had a big ass group meeting. I seen some Asians and some Islanders that I never saw in the compound before because they always stayed in the unit. So when this incident happened, they all came out. We all came out. We went out to the softball field to have a powwow. But the ones that weren't there were the PFs. There was like five of them, I think. It was Johnny, Yano, Johnny's Hawaiian, Yano is Guamanian, J-Boy is Filipino, Sugi, and Vince. Those two were Guamanians too. And I'm like, I'm just a youngster. Like I said, I haven't been on the compound for more than a year. And when I got to Lompoc, like I've shared with you already, all the power structure was already in place as far as the spokesman for the group and who's who and all that. So it's not my place to put in my 2 cents. I'm just a youngster. I'm just sitting there and I'm listening. But as I'm listening, I'm also evaluating the situation and evaluating what's what, you know. So I see these dudes, and I say, hey, how come those guys ain't over here? And somebody mentioned, because I didn't know who the PFs were. I didn't know anything about them. So until that incident, when that incident came up, a couple of people that was in the powwow, they were asking about them dudes, and one of the homies jumped up. One of the homies said, "Oh, those are PFs," and I'm like, "Well, aren't they the homies, or are they their own gang or whatever?" But if you try to be a shot caller, if you're supposed to be an organized prison gang that speaks and looks out for your community, which is Asian Islander, you should be at the forefront of the conversation and you should be on the front line. See, one thing about me, I never had any respect for people that lead from behind. I've been a frontline soldier from the moment I got locked up out here in the streets and through all my time out in the penitentiary until the day I came home. But I never acted or pretend to be anybody's shot caller or anybody's big homie. My thing was, this is the group I run with, and I feel it's part of my responsibility to make sure that everybody in the group is good, not allowing other races or other gangs to push up on any of my homies or any of that. Because for me, if I sit back and watch another race jump one of my homeboys, that's going to make me look bad. That's going to make me look like I'm soft or I'm scared. So even if I don't like the homie, I'm not going to allow no other race or no other gang do anything to them without repercussion or without me being involved. And that's just to ensure my own reputation and my own safety along with the community, right? So when I seen these dudes that they weren't part of the conversation and, we're outnumbered by the Crips 10-1. There's 400 or 500 of them in Lompoc. And the Asian Islander car, I think at one count, we had maybe 40 or 50 people, you know. But nothing happened between us and the Crips, because one, like a lot of us, function with the Crips, and two, their homeboy was in the wrong, right? That dude Pruno and the two dudes or the three dudes that tried to jump Muhammad. They didn't really, the three dudes that tried to jump Muhammad, they weren't in the wrong because they were just doing what they're supposed to, right? But the fact that Muhammad pieced them up and they were outnumbered and he was outnumbered, kind of like just was able for the Crip to squash the beef because all those guys came back out on the compound. And dudes that jumped Muhammad, they all came back out. Everybody was just doing their part as far as everybody's concerned. But my thing was like these dudes that's supposed to have been PF, Pacific family, they didn't bust a grape. And they weren't even part of the conversation. So the rest of my time while I was in Lompoc, I'm just evaluating them in my own way, you know? And eventually, when the TI riot happened, I got moved from M Block to K Block. And the K Block, this dude, J-Boy, the Filipino, he lived in there. And me and him got kind of cool because I didn't, I'm just evaluating them, like I said, but I'm not thinking they're lames or anything like that. It's whatever, right? The situation got squashed. We're moving forward. And if you live in a unit with somebody, you didn't get to know them or whatever. And, my first impression of J-Boy, when I first got on the compound, he always walked around like he was about something, right? And he was a good sized kid. I think he been there like a couple years older than me. He's a little hefty Filipino. And but every time he walked around, he always had this mug on him, right? So he came across really standoffish. But when I got to know him in the unit, he was kind of goofy. He was cool. Me and him kicked it. We kicked it. We cooked together. We ate together. He was cool. And I didn't really formulate an opinion of him just yet, right? But now he's telling me the history of the PF and all that stuff and how he got put on. And he's showing me his tattoo. I'm laughing, right? Because the way he explained it to me, he thought it was really cool, like kosher. But from my perspective, I had a different opinion. So he had a tattoo of him being a member of Waching, right, out in California. And then he had another tattoo of another gang that he was part of. I forget. I don't want to say the wrong gang that he had a tattoo of. And then he showed me on his side, he had the tattoo of the PF. And he was like, yeah, when I was living over here in California, I ran with the Waching. I was a member of the Waching. And then when I moved and lived over here and this and that, I joined up with, one another LA gang, another LA Asian gang or whatever. They're like, yeah, so now I come to prison and, I'm PF. It's whatever, right? But he was saying that like he was proud of it. But from my perspective, I'm like, don't that make you a buster, right? You from three different fucking gangs. You from a gang out up some part of LA. I don't know where the watching run around at. Then he got another gang. It's another LA gang, but a different part of town, but a different gang. And now he's in prison and he's patched up with these the PFs. I don't say nothing because I really don't really care, right? But like again, he was saying like he was proud of it, that he was cool, that he's from three different freaking gangs. And I'm just looking at him like, in my book, that's a buster, right? And as I got to know, he was. He didn't do anything foul or anything like that, but he wanted to be a part of something, act like he was something. But when the shit hit the fan, you don't ever see him nowhere, right? But that's almost the same thing with all the rest of the members that was there. And then come to find out, we had a couple older dudes that end up at Lompoc that knew the dude that started the gang. It was a Guamanian dude by the name of Camacho. They knew him before they started this PF family stuff. And one of them was my celly. His name is Streeter. He's Japanese Hawaiian. So he's like, what the fuck? Hey, bro, what the fuck is this PF stuff, bro? I said, oh, I don't know. I think, uh, I just told him whatever information that had gathered about what people said, told me about them. And then I mentioned a dude named Camacho. I said, yeah, Camacho started that. He goes, Camacho, Kwame Camacho. I said, yeah. Oh, fuck. When the fuck did that guy become a gangster? Right? And then he started going off, telling stories about how Camacho likes to polish that knob. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, bro, that fucker is fucking gay. That's a fucking gay boy, bro. Yeah, they call him Mahu. In Hawaii, they call him Mahu. Mahu means gay, right? And they're telling stories about this dude trying to polish motherfuckers off, right? But when he got to Lompoc, I don't know if people knew what he was or who he is or anything like that. He formulated his PF gang. So fast forward to Victorville. When I get into Victorville, That dude Yano ran up in my cell and tried to pull a knife on my cellie. And I jumped out of bed and I'm like, hey man, you in my cell with the knife. Right? He's like, oh, this ain't got nothing to do with you, Mesa. But your cellie's gotta understand that we run this yard, for the Asian Islander. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we PF, we run this yard. And from the time I went to Long Park till then, I never saw these dudes bust a grape. The only thing I've known these dudes to be were junkies, burning people, but they're not burning like other races or whatever. They're burning their own homies. Like the homies would come, some homies that didn't know no better, thought they were somebody, thought they were, dudes of certain integrity, and would hook them up with certain things to move or give them deals or whatever. And they always came back short. I hear about it all the time, but for me, it's like you didn't come to me and offer me an opportunity to hustle, but you go to these dudes because you think they're somebody because they're from some gang, and now you get burned. Now you want to come crying to me. Why are you coming to crying to me? It's easy to deal with it. Here's a piece. Go deal with it. But they never want to go, but these Asian dudes that they dealt with never wanted to go handle the business. For me, I'll go with you, but I'm not going to go for you. So I told him on a couple occasions, I was like, homie, if you ain't going to do nothing, then get the fuck away from me. I don't want to hear about that shit. You want to let these dudes burn you, that's what it is. They ain't never burned me. They ain't never tried to burn me, you know. So that's what I know of them. They always come back with excuses because one time the homie Zane, he's a Chinese dude out of New York. I think he's from Golden Dragon or something. He gave one of them an ounce of tar. And then the dude comes back and tells him, oh man, I forgot it in my pants and I end up washing it and whatever, whatever. So the homie took a loss on a tar, on an ounce of tar. But we all know you didn't put that in the wash. When I have one paper this size that's worth 5 books, I'm always aware of where it's at. I'm always touching my pocket to make sure I didn't drop it and all the rest. So if I know I got an ounce on me, I'm not leaving it nowhere. I'm definitely not putting it in the washer because everywhere I go, I got to go through security and border patrol. So I'm always going to be conscious of that I'm riding dirty. And I'm always going to have it in places where, if something happens or whatever, the police ain't going to be able to find it. That's just natural. Especially when you're walking around with a zip. So he comes back to the homie, the dude that he gave it to, like, oh, I threw it in the washer and this and that and whatever. But the homie know he didn't lose it in the washer. But for whatever reason, he's scared of them or whatever. He's like, whatever. You know what I mean? But to me, it's like if you let somebody burn you the first time, they're going to continue to burn you. If you let somebody take something from you, they're going to continue to take from you. But not only them, but everybody else around that sees that shit, right? So when this fool Yano comes into the cell and talking about, man, he's got to break us off because we run this yard, I'm like, oh yeah, that's news to me. As far as my understanding, ain't no big homie for an Asian Islander car. I ain't got no big homie. You know what I mean? I was able to talk him down and get him out of my cell. And then the story that I've shared with you later on that evening, me and my cellie went and caught him in front of his unit, and I punctured his lungs. Right? but yeah, they have But the point of the story is that you got some dudes that always want to be something before they're earned it because, it's a game mentality. For me being in the feds, I'm by myself. Every relationship that I've formulated, every alliance that I created was just me being there, getting to know the individual and and us having a mutual respect for each other. But at the end of the day, I'm by myself. I'm not with none of the homies that are from my hood out here. You know what I mean? I'm not from anybody that's from my gang. There's been a couple of homies that came out of here that's from Utah, but they're all from different gang, different races, and stuff like that. So all the rapport, all the relationship, all the alliance that I've created, made, and friendship that I developed in there was just for me being on the yard, getting to know these different individuals, and us having a mutual respect for each other. But but these dudes that call themselves PF, Pacific Islanders, Pacific Family, they wanted to be the big homies for the Asian Islander cause. But at the end of the day, none of us respected them as that. I didn't respect them as that. I put one of them in the hospital. They've never earned that status. The whole time I was incarcerated, none of those dudes that I was around that had that patch on them ever busted a grape, ever got their hands dirty, you know? So for me, like again, I don't respect that shit. Still don't respect that shit. Welcome to the USP.